Okay, if it's Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, that can mean just one thing. It's time for the goRIA live stream. I'm Chuck Vela. And as I like to do on these Wednesday afternoons is draw some attention to what's new on www.goria.com. So this week we've dropped a podcast as we do generally every other week. And we had a really excellent guest, Ed Slott, who you, I'm sure, all know, is the IRA and retirement planning expert. But today we did talk about IRAs, but of course, being goRIA, we had to talk about RIAs as well. So it was an interesting angle that Ed took here, and he was integrating his concepts and thoughts on utilizing tax planning as a differentiator, which he's very much known for, but within the lens, or through the lens, I should say, on how the RIA space is really leveraging onto that, all right, tacking onto that. And what he was explaining, and I'm going to share with you a clip in just a moment, that, can a broker-dealer advisor give tax planning? I guess probably. But as I say all the time, perhaps not as easily, or perhaps not with as few guardrails as you could do with your own RIA, right? So if you have your own RIA and you want to do tax planning, this is not to say it's the Wild West, right? You have to do things right and compliantly, but you don't have to go through hoop after hoop after hoop to serve your clients better. And so here's a segment of this podcast, and it's up on goRIA.com right now. It's the one right up on top because it just dropped this morning. But here's a little taste of what Ed and I talked about.
Yeah, right. So I'd say if there was one driving force that's driving people one way or another, it's the burden of compliance. I mean, it is just burying people from doing their job, and especially in our area, taxes. And remember, taxes are the single biggest factor, and most advisors know this, that will separate people from their retirement dreams. Yet, they have a hard time promoting or letting clients know that they can help with the tax planning, and that's where the value is. That's where people are willing to pay a fee. I know that because for years I built my own business charging fees. Just in case people don't know, that's what I am, a CPA tax advisor. I don't sell stocks, bonds, funds, insurance, annuities, none of that. I never did product, always on fees, and I think that's where the money is. But I think some of these broker dealers are worried about it, even some of the biggest ones. They don't let people put tax planning on their cards, or if they do, they have this giant disclaimer that's bigger than their bio of the evils of tax planning or whatever they call it. So you know what I tell advisors in almost every program I do, and some of them will know what I'm about to say, I'll say, you can say all you want, you don't do tax planning. But if you touch an IRA, you're doing tax planning. If you advise on a Roth conversion, you're doing tax planning. If you're advising on a rollover, $1 trillion a year rolls over from 401ks to IRAs, you're doing tax planning. If you take in IRA money, you're doing tax planning. So either say you're going to do it or get out of the way, because that's the service that's most valuable. And studies have shown this. In fact, I forget the company, it was these McKinsey type surveys. I don't know if you saw that. They surveyed high-end people, high net worth consumers, which are advisors' best clients generally, and the ones with most money in these retirement accounts, $1 million plus IRAs. And they asked what services do they want from their financial advisors. And right at the top of the list was tax planning, because they know they have a tax problem. But the more interesting part of this survey was the gap. They also surveyed the same people, what do you want and what are you getting? And the biggest gap, again, was in tax planning. So we know people with money want this. Advisors either don't do it, or they're afraid to do it, or afraid to say they do it. But that's the service, from my perspective, that is the most valuable. I always felt tax planning was highly valued, not commoditized like other services, because the results are quantitative, tangible. You could see, clients could see how much in numbers they could be saving over a lifetime in tax planning. Other services like tax preparation, that's been marginalized or commoditized. I mean, if you watch the football games last week, I think they had that TurboTax commercial. In 15 seconds, they wiped out every CPA doing tax. They said, "We'll do
Right.
it for free. We'll charge less. Whatever your guy is charging, we'll charge less." Well, that's a race to the bottom. The
Yeah.
same thing with investment management. It's the same
Yes.
thing. If everybody's doing it for free, you don't want to compete on price. So that's where we see people moving from the strict, at least on the compliance side, that's what I hear about, to their own RIA, where they may have more leeway to do a better job for their clients.
Absolutely. So there's a lot to unpack right there, and this is a great way to start off today's segment. And we see that a lot. Okay, right? So again, that was just a little taste of what Ed and I spoke about during this podcast. And he goes into a lot of real good, actionable detail, as we love when guests on goRIA do this. So he's talking about some of his strategies, of course, but really tying it nicely into how he's seeing other independent RIAs execute on this type of planning service. And I talk to advisors all the time, and especially when I'm talking with the younger advisors, who really, I think, by and large, get this. The value proposition for many decades has moved from, I'm going to pick your investments, I'm going to pick your stocks, I'm going to pick your mutual funds, I'm going to do your asset allocation. All super important, but that's getting very commoditized. Today, what you really need to be delivering is the planning, right? The financial planning, the estate planning, and for Ed Slott's purposes, the tax planning. And he gives a lot of good actionable insight onto that. So it's up right now, goRIA.com. It's the first podcast at the top of the page. Worth a listen. If you're looking to go RIA, if you're looking to incorporate tax planning into your practice, it's certainly worth, I think, the 25 minutes that we go. So that's it for today. So on behalf of goRIA, fueled by Investment News, I'm Chuck Vela, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks with some more content. Thanks for joining us. Take care.